What's up, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Football Advice Network. And today we're doing a 2024 Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft post NFL Draft. NFL Draft is done. It's looking like we are going to start going into training camp season, but it's more like Dynasty season with all the rookies being able to have their landing spots, where to go, what to do. I'm here with a rankings and tiers. This is only opinion. You see on to the right of me, 2QB PPR tight end premium, but we're going to talk about that on what certain tight end premium, what you would probably do and value more often. But also, this is only opinion. This is my rankings. These are my tiers. You can have a different tier list than me. That's okay. And I'll talk about what's the differences on maybe what you're thinking when you go into your draft. But other than that, let's get started with Caleb Williams, number one in the S tier. And other than that, also Marvin Harrison Jr. For me, it's pretty obvious that these two are the S tiers. I would not be shocked to see that maybe in your draft that Marvin Harrison Jr. goes first because no one's taking Caleb Williams. And maybe Caleb Williams is going after Marvin Harrison Jr. or Caleb Williams goes first. Whatever it might be, these two have separated from the other talents. Caleb Williams, the Bears situation was perfect with him already. Wasn't going to the worst team in the NFL. Had an offense that was willing to kind of like build around whoever I'll build around Caleb Williams and get anything like that. And now you have Roma Dunze even going there, and we've already seen the chemistry with them. And then for Marvin Harrison Jr., we've always kind of hoped that he would go to the Chargers or maybe something else. But going to the Cardinals, it was destined from the beginning him to go to the Cardinals, and what a perfect landing spot. There's not really people there that will take away from the target share. Right now, their wide receiver 2 is Michael Wilson. You have Kyler Murray, who is a locked-in QB that is going to be able to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr., and Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of the most perfect prospects we've seen in a while when it comes to the wide receiver position. So with that being said, these are the two guys for S tier. In A tier, we're going to start off with Jayden Daniels, officially the number 2 pick going to the Washington Commanders. I've been saying on my other channel, Lesser Athletes, go check it out, that Jayden Daniels will probably be the number 2 pick. Marcus Mariota, the signing kind of showed it a little bit to me that maybe if they're going to need a vet for a running QB, Marcus Mariota would be a very good veteran to kind of help with the process with that. And Cliff Kingsbury, being the offensive coordinator there, would like more of a running quarterback, maybe a quarterback that could be able to do more than just, certain little things. So Jayden Daniels is a pick number 2, which makes me go pick him ahead. I would also say Drake May's next to him in the same tier. I do think that people are undervaluing Drake May. I think he still will be a good talent. He has all the aspects to be a great quarterback. I think in other drafts, you would see Drake May probably go to than Jayden Daniels. But for the Washington Commanders, they wanted more of a running quarterback, and that's what came with Jayden Daniels. But if a team's probably looking for a more accurate quarterback and a quarterback that's probably bigger, bulkier, and truthfully could be better in the future, Drake May could be the pick. And I think the Patriots, even though it is a sucky situation with the Patriots, I still think Drake May is in a good enough situation where they did show that they want to build a good offensive size and offensive caliber team with him. We'll talk about some of the picks later, that Drake May is a good enough pick right here. And then next we have, to finish off the A tier, Malik Neighbors. Now, yes, being wide receiver 1 in your team is really good, and Malik Neighbors is going to be wide receiver 1. If he's not, something's wrong with the Giants. But when you look at the QB situation, and for Malik Neighbors, somebody that when asked about what's the potential possibility if you go into the Giants, and he was like, he was basically he kind of said, I just care who really wants to throw the ball to me. And then on the next day of you being picked to the Giants, you call your QB Jalen Jones. Malik Neighbors is somebody that I believe in. I want him if I was in most of my drafts. But is this somebody that is going to be should be ahead of Drake May, Jayden Daniels? Well, they're in the same tier. You can kind of move around how you feel. But I would still pick Malik Neighbors to be the second wide receiver no matter what. He's still not going to have that much target share to block out some of the targets for him. But Malik Neighbors, it sucks going to the Giants. But I've said this before in some of my other drafts where, I said for my latest mock draft on the other channel that, when you have a wide receiver that's part of a team. It's looking like it's a destination for QBs to go. Look at how the Vikings were with Justin Jefferson, where they have good offensive weapons and a QB going there is a perfect situation. The Giants can build that if they really want to pick a QB out the draft. But it'll be interesting to see what they do for the future. Next in the B tier, we have JJ McCarthy and Rome Odunze. And that's going to be it for the B tier, which may be a shocker. But this is definitely the B tier for me. I think JJ McCarthy has set in stone. He should be the 106 pick, 107. He's probably going to be the one guy in your league that could go from 105 to 110, where no one's going to know where he's going to go in between. But JJ McCarthy probably went into, maybe other than Caleb Williams, honestly, probably better than Caleb Williams. The best offensive stint she could have gone to and best offensive, just playmakers around him, best team to just go to. JJ McCarthy going to a team that has Justin Jefferson, has Jordan Addison, has Aaron Jones there, TJ Hawkinson, a good O-line with a QB coach and Josh McCown, I'm pretty sure, and Kevin O'Connell, who was a QB. Both of those were QBs in the NFL. JJ McCarthy's in probably the best situation out of all these QBs. And with that in mind, we have to think that with being a top 10 pick, with being somebody that is in a perfect situation, he has to go higher than most of these other players. And even if you don't like the prospect, you can't deny the capital and where he's going. So JJ McCarthy is the B tier start off. But in that same B tier, like I said, Rome Odunze, I think Rome Odunze is somebody that it sucks going to the Bears, and you might hate it. But the Bears do have Keenan Allen on a 1-year contract. DJ Moore has been, in the past, a downfield threat. Rome Odunze, reception-wise, route running, chemistry with Caleb Williams. I'd rather bet on the talent than not. This is exactly where, and these tiers say where you should bet on talent rather than bet on spot or bet on whatever. Rome Odunze is where you bet on the talent than anybody else below. Even if you don't think that the Bears will be good with Rome Odunze, the difference between last year with JSN, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett, well, Tyler Lockett's on a 1-year deal now. DK Metcalf looks like the wide receiver 1. What was the problem with that is that he got picked in the 20-somethings. Rome Odunze just got picked with the 9th pick. 9th pick in the draft. The last time we probably had somebody in the top 10 like this was elite players. So Rome Odunze going here at 9, you got to just bet on talent, and I'm willing to do that. Next, first person off on the C tier is Bo Nix. Again, when we're talking about draft capital, going 12th overall, even though it might have been a shocking pick, the Broncos said that they think this is their guy, and they think that this is the guy that is going to lead them in the future. And with that in mind, if the Broncos are saying this, you have to believe this, that he's going to be a starting quarterback for a couple of years at least. And this could be a quarterback that could start for years to come if he hits right. Bo Nix, probably the most QB ready or NFL ready out of all these guys. I'm willing to bet that Bo Nix is going to be good and somebody that can start, that is with the draft capital you have to just go with. Up next for him, though, is Brian Thomas Jr. I think with Jacksonville, I think they could have picked him at 17, but they probably saw that no one was going to pick wide receiver in between. No one was probably going to trade up. So, with that in mind, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is somebody that is willing to have a role there. I think Gabe Davis is a downfield stretcher. I think Christian Kirk is probably somebody that will go against him for a little bit. But Brian Thomas Jr. is the pick, and I think it is worthwhile to have him here at C tier. And then next, probably the biggest faller out of all of these. Is he the biggest faller? Yeah, probably one of the biggest fallers out of all of these. Brock Bowers. Going to the Raiders at 13. A team that I think no one even thought that was a possibility to. Who already has Michael Mayer, picked him last year. And granted, Michael Mayer is not going to be the tight end 1. It's still going to be Brock Bowers. Going to a team that has Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, doesn't know the QB situation, and a running offense. Kind of hurts. Hurts a lot for Brock Bowers. Still going to be a great offensive weapon, don't get me wrong. And that's where I talked about the tight end premium. We'll talk about that. Tight end premium, I would still probably put him here. If it's not tight end premium, I'm dropping him a little bit. If it's higher tight end premium, like if it's not reception and a half, probably put him higher, maybe top of C tier. It just sucks because I think Brock Bowers, and granted, the Raiders do run a lot of two tight ends. Makes sense. But Brock Bowers is somebody that can block, somebody that is an offensive capability, has offensive capabilities that will look very well in the NFL. It just sucks because is this a guy, are we willing to bet on it? I'd probably bet on it other than some others. But I would not be shocked if you have him in the bottom of C. I would not be shocked if you have him in the top of C depending on your tight end situation. Up next, we have Xavier Worthy. Went to probably the best landing spot out of most of these players where he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, who trade up for him to 28th with the Bills. Speedster. And the only thing that is the worry with Xavier Worthy is he going to be someone that adjusts to stretch the field and to scare an offense and rather than an offensive threat that's going to get the receptions that we like, or is he going to get those two huge plays? I would rather say for the Chiefs that it's more towards receptions because of the Chiefs, but he's not going to get his offensive production right away. It's going to take a little bit. I think Marquise Brown is definitely going to take away from that, but he's on a one-year contract. I think with the whole situation with Rashid Rice, we could see Xavier Worthy maybe do something good for the beginning. But Rashid Rice looks like he'll still be the wide receiver 1 with Xavier Worthy being wide receiver 2 for the future. But he's a speedster that's going to work well for the Chiefs. And lastly, this is in my opinion. Now, this one's going to be opinion because I've seen a lot of people put him lower. I have Keon Coleman next. There's a lot of factors that factor into why I like Keon Coleman. I've been high on Keon Coleman since the beginning of the draft process. Fell a long time. Just fell down on stocks. Started to be really low on him. Said, okay, let's see the combine. Doesn't do well in the combine. I'm like, okay, well, he's screwed. He'll go into the end of the second round, close third maybe now. Goes to an amazing landing spot in the Buffalo Bills. He looks like he could be wide receiver 1. Probably is wide receiver 1 now saying that. Who is he to go against? Shakir, Curtis Samuel. So with that in mind, when you have Josh Allen, when you have Josh Allen also saying he wanted Keon Coleman, basically a first-round pick, because I think that they were willing to take Keon Coleman earlier, but knew that he would keep falling. So Keon Coleman was the beginning of the second round. And the biggest thing to me is that the QB wanted him. You can go look it up. Josh Allen said he texted and wanted Keon Coleman. I would rather bet on Keon Coleman. In my opinion, you could move Brock Bowers down even from Xavier Worthy and Keon Coleman, and I'd be fine with that. I think Keon Coleman will be someone very, very good in the NFL because he has the athletic ability. Yes, drops were not that well. But for a QB to say they want him, it's the same thing with Dalton Kincaid last year. The Bills chose Dalton Kincaid, and they were told from Josh Allen that Josh Allen wanted Dalton Kincaid. I'm willing to bet on Keon Coleman maybe than some others. Up next in the D tier, we're going to start off with Ladd McConkey, another person I thought maybe could start in the C tier, but I think I'd rather Xavier Worthy kind of be the end. I think Keon Coleman is my personal opinion that jumps up. Ladd McConkey here at D tier. Great landing spot. Probably not going to be wide receiver 1. I've seen a lot of people think he could be, but I do think Quentin Johnson's still that wide receiver 1 for them. Ladd McConkey's going to be in the slot, the Keenan Allen slot guy. But I do like the pick up there. Michael Penix Jr. is going to be next. And the fact is that Michael Penix Jr. was a top 8 pick. This is the craziest pick out of the whole night, probably the biggest L out of the whole night. Top 8 pick. And for me, if you're a top 8 pick, chances are you are going to play in the NFL at some point in the next 2 to 3 years. Now, you could say, well, what happened with the Jordan Love situation with Aaron Rodgers? Well, Aaron Rodgers was an MVP. Kirk Cousins wasn't an MVP. Kirk Cousins is coming off an ACL injury. My nose is like itching every time I talk now. Michael Penix is in the number 8 pick while Jordan Love was in the 20s. Michael Penix Jr. is probably just got picked to be a backup for the first year or two, but is going to be their starter coming up. And with that in mind, this is the lowest of what his value is going to be, because every year they're going to say, well, Michael Penix Jr. could be starting. Well, Michael Penix Jr. could be starting. So getting a pick somewhere in this, I would say if he falls to you at 205 and back, you have to pick him. Where's he at right now? Let me do my quick math. 7. Okay, so he's at like 202. I would say if he's at 205 and back, no matter who it is, you have to pick him. Which actually, now looking at it, that is actually perfect with the E tier. Listen, bad pick, crazy pick because they're supposed to be a win now team. But Michael Penix Jr. will be a starting quarterback one day in this league, and his value will eventually rise. Rise every year. This is the lowest it'll be. Up next, we have the 2 running backs, Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson. Jonathan Brooks being the first running back off the board, going to the Panthers, pick 40-something. Has an ACL injury. Still declares, which people didn't expect. Clearly shows that his value was high. He had an ACL injury at the end of the year and still got picked. First running back off the board. I like the landing spot. The Panthers clearly are trying to make more offensive weapons for Bryce Young. Jonathan Brooks is definitely also somebody that has capabilities to be a great running back 1 in the league. I think the Panthers knew that this is going to be the running back 1. It depends on when he'll start, but I think he will play very well in the next season. And they're clearly trying to make a great offensive team around Bryce Young, and this is the start of it, and I like it. We have Trey Benson also here, like I said. Trey Benson going to the Cardinals, he can be a running back 1, maybe not next year, but the year after that. I almost said the year before that. Trey Benson has great receiving upside, has great size, has great speed. With all that in mind, you have to take Trey Benson if you are looking at the people below, because Trey Benson is a future running back 1 in this league. And for the Cardinals, with how their offensive capabilities have been, Trey Benson's a perfect pickup for me. Up next in this next year, kind of hard. Kind of wanted to put some of them up in the tier above, but I'm going Ricky Pearsall first for the E tier. Yes, he had round 1 capital, pick 31. And somebody like Keon Coleman, who is 33, is way up ahead of him. I get that. But the spot with the 49ers is going to be very interesting. Will a Deebo Samuels trade happen? Will a Brandon Ayuk trade happen? If one of those happen, he'll jump up more. His play style represents a Deebo Samuel. So if Deebo gets traded, that's going to be perfect. If Ayuk gets traded, it's still good, but they don't have the play style and the scheme that they've been doing like Deebo Samuel. I'm a little worried. If none of them get traded and they decide to stick, well, then he's still going to be stuck here. This is probably the lowest he'll go. But Ricky Pearsall is going to be interesting because I did not even expect that he would be picked. Next, we have Jalen Polk to finish off the E tier. I like to separate these two then from the dart shots I have below. These next 2 tiers are going to be kind of like dart shots, in my opinion. Jalen Polk is going to be wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. I would be shocked if he's not. It is crazy to me that, and let's say this. With him being wide receiver 1, yes, you would probably say, why is he higher if he's wide receiver 1? Ladd McConkey could be wide receiver 1, and his QB is Justin Herbert. Keon Coleman could be wide receiver 1, his QB is Josh Allen. With that in mind, he has Drake May, and we don't know how Drake May is going to be yet. And it's going to be a rookie QB. So with that in mind, we have to put Jalen Polk lower. I'm inclined to put Jalen Polk in the end of D tier if you really would want to, because of that upside. But Jalen Polk is still going to be a good receiver that I would take easily over any of the guys I'm about to say. Speaking of those guys, let's talk about our dart throws that I'm going to quickly just talk about for a quick second. Xavier Legette, first up on it here. I almost put him in the tier higher because he had the first round capital, but I still do not trust him. This is a guy that broke out his 5th year, somebody that they traded up one spot to get him. Honestly, did not need to do that. Get Xavier Legette. He's probably going to be wide receiver 2 for the future, as in Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 1, Xavier Legette, wide receiver 2. Maybe Deontay Johnson keeps falling off, Xavier Legette becomes wide receiver 1. There's already Jonathan Mingo there, Adam Thielen. We'll have to see. I just don't trust the prospect, and that's a big thing, but the draft capital helped him to go up higher. Adonai Mitchell is probably one of the bigger followers. I really liked Adonai Mitchell. I was shocked to see so many wide receivers get chosen before him going to the Colts, which sucks even more. Probably a wide receiver 3, but definitely something that can stretch the field. Am I going to take him over some players that have wide receiver 1 upside? Maybe not. But Adonai Mitchell will be a follower, and still you have to bet on the talent when it comes to some of them. Malachi Corley, another guy that I really like. Mike Williams is in that Jets offense right now, but Malachi Corley looks like the wide receiver 3. And with that in mind, other than Garrett Wilson, we don't really know what's to happen for the next season. If Malachi Corley does somehow become the wide receiver 2, this is going to be a perfect setup because Aaron Rodgers with wide receiver 2, it's 100% worth it. Next, we have Blake Corum going from Michigan to, funny enough, not the Chargers like everyone expected to, the Rams. And people think that Blake Corum is fully dead. I don't think so. I think this was never somebody that was going to be running back 1 for sure. Definitely somebody that was going to be sharing splits with somebody. I think Blake Corum, choosing him pretty high up in there in the draft. Having Kyron Williams there, that will be a very good running back, and Blake Corum kind of maybe being that, need a push-in guy, red zone guy, could work out well. If he gets a role like that, Blake Corum was 100% worth picking here. Next up to finish off this tier, we have Jermaine Burton. And funny enough, I think this could be the biggest steal for anybody in this draft. Jermaine Burton being somebody that, let's say T. Higgins gets traded, he'll probably be wide receiver 2. Isn't that crazy? If T. Higgins doesn't get traded, he's still wide receiver 3 for a Joe Burrow offense, and that's pretty fine. At the end of this round, you're not really getting these 100% amazing guys, but Jermaine Burton, it can easily be a wide receiver 2 if T. Higgins is traded, which that's all you need. That's all I need to hear, and I'm immediately picking him up. Next, we have Roman Wilson. I also think this could be a wide receiver 2 for the future. Roman Wilson was somebody that I think was a very good steal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steal for the Pittsburgh Steelers, no pun intended. But Roman Wilson is kind of just betting on the landing spot and hoping something comes out. Not talking about the landing spot, talking more on like talent and potential. I guess kind of landing spot. Troy Franklin going to the Broncos to team up back again with Bo Nix. Maybe Bo Nix called and said, hey, I really want Troy Franklin. Maybe this is a Tank Dell and CJ Stroud thing. If that is the thing, then I would actually be very interested to see what happens with that. If it's not, we'll have to see what happens with that. I mean, I don't know. This is, again, another dart throw we'll have to do. A dart throw that I like a lot, Javon Baker to the Patriots. I really like Javon Baker. I think he'll have contention to be wide receiver 2 or 3 on that team for Drake May. And if Drake May is willing to spread out the ball very, very well, Javon Baker will be a very good dynasty asset to pick. And lastly, we have Marshawn Lloyd, who will be the last running back on here. Marshawn Lloyd, who will be the last running back on here. Definitely somebody that could be the receiving back to a Josh Jacobs, who is technically on a 1-year deal. There's people that said, yes, he's on a 4-year deal. What are you talking about? He has the Green Bay Packers have the option to cut him after every single year. It's literally a bet on yourself type of rookie deal. Marshawn Lloyd being chosen here for me because of the receiving upside, potential running back 1 upside. Once Marshawn Lloyd does good, I would bet on Marshawn Lloyd if you could. And lastly, Ben Sano is going to be the last thing. Chosen pretty decent draft capital to the Commanders. Draft place was pretty good. In the second round, Ben Sano, The Commanders have Zach Ertz, not really anybody else. They just signed him, I'm pretty sure, too. So this could be the tight end one for the Washington Commanders. And for a team that just got a rookie QB, you could be seeing him doing a lot of checkdowns to the tight end. We'll have to see. But yeah, other than that, let me know what you think about my rankings down in the comments below. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.